Welcome back to The Market Chef. And today in the kitchen we've got Chef Ryan. Thanks for coming down.
Rob, it's an absolute pleasure to be back.
You're more than welcome. Ryan, what we've got here today, we've got some lovely forced indoor rhubarb. Ryan, what do you know about this bad boy?
Well, this bad boy, you might have to stop me because like the incredible English asparagus, Jersey rolls, rhubarb for me as a chef and most chefs out there is a hyper seasonal ingredient. So I know a lot. But Rob, why don't you tell me a little bit about the grower?
So this grower here, Ryan, is Westwood Farms. They grow right in the middle of the heart of the rhubarb triangle, which is up in West Yorkshire. Yeah, they've been growing since the late 1800s. Roughly about 200 growers back in the day. Now there's only down to 10. And these guys are a specialist grower in rhubarb.
So Rob, chef supplier. Why don't we have a little quick fire on what we know about this incredible product? You go first.
Well, the little that I know about this, Ryan, is that it's grown outside first of all. It's dug up, it's taken inside, starved of the daylight, and then grown under candlelight to give it that sweet, lovely flavour that you as a chef should know.
I did not know that. I thought it was just forced indoors. Did you know that this incredible ingredient was originally from Siberia and the muddy, nutrient-rich grounds that it grows in and the weather climate is almost identical, which is why it grows so great in Yorkshire?
Didn't know that much, Chef.
There you go.
Right, Ryan, did you know this was used at the late Queen's 80th birthday party?
I didn't.
Rhubarb was one of her favourite vegetables.
Wow, I did not know that. Okay, fair enough, big man, you win.
Thank you. Right, so you know I don't like rhubarb. What can you do to convince me on this?
I'm gonna keep it classic today, fella. Look at that. So for you and the lovely team here in the studio today, we're gonna do an absolute beautiful take, a cheats take and a modern take on the rhubarb crumble.
Let's get cooking.
It's spring, we're here in the kitchen, County Supplies and me, Ryan Stafford, and I'm only thinking about one thing, we're thinking about one thing, the incredible ingredient that is rhubarb. Fantastic, I remember as a young boy, going down, must be a northern thing, into the bottom of the garden with a pot of sugar, my grandma telling me to do this, but there's no need when you've got products this good. And January right through to early spring, it's just like the asparagus and Jersey rolls. It's absolutely incredible. So today we're gonna do an incredible, delicious, tasty seasonal dish and a twist on the classic that is rhubarb and custard. We've got some fantastic ingredients. To start and elevate the crumble, we're gonna use filo pastry, lemon thyme, honey, vanilla paste and maple syrup. We've got some blood oranges to add a little bit of acidity. We're going to poach the rhubarb with some pink ginger. Ginger and rhubarb, classic, goes back beyond granny years into probably the 1800s since we've had rhubarb. Classic pairing, just like rosemary, garlic and lamb, rhubarb and ginger are classic. So again, twisting that screw a little bit, we've got pink ginger, the sushi one. Just adds a new dimension to it while keeping that ginger right at the core of its flavour. The custard's going to be a cheats custard. I really like the dimensions and flavour that you get from coconut, maple syrup and vanilla. It's just something special. For me, it reminds me of custard, and against the acidity of rhubarb, absolutely perfect. So on with the dish now. And again, just a note for those stems as a chef, when these come in, you literally get chefs coming around the table when produce this good comes in. Notably the colour here, as you can see, and with them being forced, makes them very, very different and differentiates them from the summer variety, which obviously is subjected to the sun and not being forced indoors. Therefore, photosynthesis happens and you get the green, which generally turns sour. And that's why forcing, with the great conditions that the Yorkshire Triangle provides the most, incredible way to grow this product. So there you go, some little facts for you from the kitchen. Let's get on with cutting them. Never eat these. I've seen a few chefs pickling them in recent years. As far as I'm concerned, these are poisonous. And the yellow, like in most potatoes, vegetables, represents a mild form of cyanide. So really bad for your liver and your kidneys. Stay away from those. Onto the stems. You want to see the rhubarb. I'm not trying to make a jam, so I'm not going to hack it up. Just some kind of nice batons and nice shapes to form the presentation to the dish. So I think rhubarb for me as well can get a little bit stringy. So anything bigger than a mouthful is going to go stringy. So we'll just cut these into smaller 1 centimetre wide kind of stems, as you can see there. We'll go in half again with those. Make sure you drag the knife all the way through there. I'm going to pop them in a pan. Now, I absolutely love rhubarb, and you smell rhubarb, you look at it, you don't really get a a lot from the smell. When you first see it, you get all colour, it's all visual. But once you cook it, you really get that jammy note, that kind of overwhelming rhubarb and custard nostalgia flavour. And I don't know about the boiled sweets from my childhood, but in preparing this dish and testing, it was definitely bringing back plenty of fine memories of the days before I was a chef. And I think they're the most special things when you can recreate those on a new platform like today. Elevate a classic like rhubarb and custard with a little bit of crumble into a new format and give it a new stage to play on, but keeping the flavours that made it so special in the first place. Okay, so now we've got the rhubarb into the pan. We just want to make a little pickle, and we're going to start that pickle by just putting enough water just to cover the rhubarb. So the reason we put water in there is it's a foundation. It's going to start a really nice pickle. So you've obviously got quite a tart, sour profile to the rhubarb, and we want to offset that and get it to a point where it's quite enjoyable to work with the other flavours like the orange and like the ginger. So quite a generous amount, probably about 2.5 tablespoons of ginger in there. Get it all in. And then also we want some orange in there. Now the orange is going to offer a little bit of acidity, but a little bit of roundness as well. Got some incredible blood oranges also, absolutely stunning. It's going to add a nice little seasonal touch. And again, the richness of a blood orange really outreaches its competitor like Seville oranges and jam oranges and clementines and tangerines, part of the mandarin family. I think you've got almost like a sweet shop kind of flavour in blood oranges, especially when they're this good. It works really well with that kind of candy-like flavour of the rhubarb. So we're going to pop that in there, and they also add a really deep colour as well. So as the rhubarb fades as you cook it, it's backed up by that blood orange. So a nice acidity in there to work with the tartness. We want to bring that up to heat. So we're nearly there. We've got the rhubarb in there, and all we're trying to do is bring it up to the boil with some beautiful ingredients around it. So we've got some water, we've got some ginger, and we've also got a bit of blood orange in there. So we just need a touch of vanilla, about a teaspoon to be exact. Really powerful. Again, I keep mentioning sweet shop, that candy-like flavour that we're looking for, and the oranges and the vanilla really deliver that. The ginger's got its own thing going on. But again, that roundness and flavour is very nice. And we'll leave that in there. And now we're going to go with a touch of honey. About 1.5 tablespoons of honey. And all we're going to do is bring that to the boil. It's very quick to cook. And as I said, with the rhubarb, as you can see here now, starting to lose its colour a little bit. Starts to go almost like a blush pink, which is really nice. We want a little bit of texture in there. We don't want this kind of like jam. So as you can see, it's just coming up to the boil. It's just getting tender. Almost feels a little bit and looks a little bit like a crab stick almost. You want that kind of proteiny kind of set texture as you feel it. And I think quite happy there. It's probably about a high brew temperature of about 80 to 90 degrees in there, just before the boil. That's a perfect temperature. So just set it aside while we do the rest of the dish. So onto the rest of the dish. We're now going to make the crumble. So here we have some filo pastry, and we're looking for about 3 layers. Now, my grandma would have been very angry about me messing around with the crumble. She had a fantastic recipe. I'm sorry, Grandma. I've got one that I feel is just as good. So hopefully you guys agree as well. We've got 3 layers of filo here. And what we're going to do is simply take a little bit of a baklava approach. Now baklava is a Middle Eastern, Bahrainian, Iranian, goes right through North Africa to Egypt, Tunisia, Algeria. It's generally honey mixed with nuts and pastry in many different forms. It's absolutely delicious. So we're just going to take a little bit of that kind of those learnings and put them into our own kind of crumble sweet. Instead of using sugar, butter and flour, we're using a ready-made pastry in filo, and we're getting our flavour from the vanilla and the honey. And then we're going to use a little bit of lemon thyme. It's not really going to add a savouriness to it, and it's not really going to distract too much of the flavour. You've got a lemon in there, so it's going to play around with the tartness and the acidity. The honey's going to play with the sweetness. And you've got a little bit of savouriness coming from the lemon thyme, as well as harmonising with the other citrus being the orange in the dish. So one layer, as you can see, really simple like that. We're going to do another layer. Now for the middle layer, we're going to go maple syrup. Don't worry if it's all nice and rustic and not too perfect. So for the middle layer, we're going to go with some maple syrup. It's really, really beautiful. And again, that baklava is just kind of toasted pastry with usually, like I said, some nuts in there. We're not going to use nuts today, but some nice aromats coming from that lemon thyme. It's going to be absolutely delicious. And again, you're going to get that butteriness from the toasted pastry, although in filo there is no butter. It's vegan, this dish, without even trying. Just shows you what you can do with some of the flavors. We've got coconut yogurt, rhubarb, sugar. Honey's a bit of a grey area when it comes to being a vegan. Some vegans eat it, some people don't. You could just compensate that with some maple syrup throughout the whole dish. Then on with the last layer. And again, we will just top with some maple syrup. And the reason we put the sugar on, it just helps caramelize the pastry really, really quick. And that can sit there. Nice little pastry brush over the top. Really simple. You can make this. Children could make this. Don't have to be too neat and tidy, because once it's baked and we've got a nice caramelized kind of toastedness on it, we're just going to crumble it with our hands anyway. So don't be too precious with this. Straight down the middle, removing any thyme stalks. And then we're just going to pop that on a tray in the oven at 170 for about 6 to 8 minutes, just until nice and golden brown. So now it's time to make the custard. So a custard like never before, but again, keeping in line with those flavors. Coconut and rhubarb, really beautiful together. And we've teamed up this custard with some maple syrup. There's something about maple syrup, vanilla and coconut that just is like magic. So we really want to give that a really nice mix. And the maple syrup almost gives the coconut a really nice kind of golden colour. Just make sure you get some of the fat in the coconut yogurt clumps up a little bit. Just want to get a little bit of the air in there and smoothing it out a little bit. It's got that custard kind of colour coming to it. Okay, so now it's time to plate. We need a nice bowl. We're going to start with that beautiful kind of custard in the central part of the plate. It's kind of got that old school custard look about it, which I really, really like. So here we have the custard on the base of the plate. Now we're going to use a little bit of that crumble. So as you can see, those layers have just crisped up in a really, really beautiful way. Just kind of peel it away from the tray a little bit. And it's almost that honey, the way it comes together, gives that kind of rich custard flavour that's so relatable to the childhood classic. I kind of just want to build a little bit there on the base of the plate. Just get a little bit of height if you want to be a little bit chefy about it. Let's go in for that rhubarb. Rhubarb moment, this smells absolutely divine. Don't be scared about getting a little bit of that pink ginger on there as well. Pink ginger doesn't just add beauty in the form of a little bit of spice, but it also works so well with sugar as well. Really is delicious. And that rhubarb just taking centre stage there, stacking up. Don't be afraid to get a little bit of height. And just rustic beauty being created there. Really, really beautiful. Looks beautiful, looks rewarding. The perfect way to start the rhubarb season. Just pop a little bit on there, like a little twirl on top to add that almost perfect vision that you have of the crumble sat on top of the rhubarb. Finish off with a little bit of lemon balm. And there you have it. My take on the childhood classic in the kitchen here, the Market Chef and County Supplies, rhubarb and custard crumble. So Mr. Robert, Mr. Horror, Mr. King of Covent Garden, come and taste this. Because I know you're not. the biggest fan of rhubarb, but my job today is to change your perception. It's a beautiful thing. Probably like you've never had it before, but tuck into that big boy. Tell me what you think.
It looks beautiful,
Yeah.
but let's see if you can convert me.
Just get your chops in there and let's let the taste buds do the talking. Crumble.
Crumble's banging.
Okay. Should we build up to the big boy? Let's go a bit
Custard's
of
good.
custard. Yeah, you get some?
Got a bit of custard.
Nice. Rhubarb, but you gotta get a bit of the other stuff with the rhubarb as well. That's why rhubarb and custard go so well together, because they complement each other. Let's get a good 50-50 on there.
Fingers crossed.
And he loves it. Look at the smile on this man's face.
Wow.
Absolutely loves it. No, is it nice? Do you like it?
Lost for words. That is
Really?
awesome. I really didn't think you was going to convert me today, but yeah, I'll give you that.
I
Chef,
try.
Well done. That is banging.
Absolute pleasure.
Market chef, County Supplies, Ryan Stafford, smashed it.